Hi, Julie Usher. In this video, I'm taking simple boxes, like the one you saw here in a previous video, up a level, quite literally, because we're going to be stacking them into a wedding cake shape, like this pretty rose one you see in front of me. The boxes are all put together. Please refer back to my video about how to do that. And for this project, you'll need 3 boxes, one formed out of rectangular cutters, which are from the standard Atiko cutter set, and the others are formed out of squares from the standard Atiko cutter set. And I'll have all the shapes in the video description or on my website afterwards. Okay, so for stacking these boxes, well, let me back up. Why would you use these boxes? I think it makes a great show-stopping centerpiece, something a little different than the traditional wedding cake. This box isn't filled, it's simply decorated, but there's a little bit, probably 1/4 of an inch all the way around, in which you could put candies or small cookies even. It creates sort of an edible dimension to your centerpiece as well, which I think is quite nice. And of course, you can deconstruct the thing and eat it. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I put this together. A couple of things. This is just an assembly video. A couple of things to note. These boxes are bottomless. You can put a bottom in them, but because they're going to be on a plate, I skip that step. It saves a little bit of extra time. But you want to make sure it's oriented on the plate and not going to skid around before you start stacking. So I have got it on, this is just some shelf liner here to keep my stand from moving around as I assemble. I've also got a square piece of it. It's sitting down in the middle. So that's going to keep my next box that I'm going to plant in there from moving around. Okay, to elevate, as I said, you could fill this up fully with sugar or M&Ms or something like that and literally just put the next box plunk on top of it. And that's kind of fun. But if you don't want to spend all that time and money buying candies, you can also just use simple craft store items to elevate the boxes. This is a lid from a little plastic container that I got at one of the local container stores. And that's almost high enough. I'm going to just slip that in there. You want to make sure it's centered and not falling off, and it's level rather, because that way your next item will sit level. I think that's pretty squarely level. That's still a little too short because if I were to stick this next box in it, it'd be sitting down lower than I would like. So I've cut a couple of non-skid liners that fit the top of it. I don't want these coming all the way to the top because I don't want to see them once it's stacked. So they're cut just to the size of that lid, which is about 1/4 of an inch shy of the sides of those boxes. And I think 4 will probably elevate it just enough that you won't be able to see it if you're looking at it from the side or even too top down. Then simply stack the next guy on top. And this, so that plastic container underneath creates a bottom and a receptacle for more stuff that might go inside. I tend to think these cakes look best viewed on the diagonal. I'm looking at it from all sides to make sure it's pretty level because you can also prop it with a little more liner material if it's not, but I think that looks pretty good, at least from this side. So the next one goes in the same way. I've got the bottom of another one of these plastic containers, and it's about 1/4 of an inch shy of the sides. There we go. And again, I need a little shelf liner material to keep the next box from skidding around on that plastic thing because it is slick, but also just to give it a little more height because I don't want the box to disappear. And this box I assembled in my last video on simple box assembly. And I put some little beads at the bottom, which it just so happens are not allowing it to clear the box. So I'm just going to pop them off. And it should sit in there nicely. The other alternative to using these kinds of liners or sugar or candies to fill the boxes are cutting cookies to the exact size to fit inside the box and stacking them that way. So these were cut to fit this size box. So that's a possibility too. That's just a little more time consuming, of course. Now I feel like I need to fill it out. It's got no topper. And there are a couple of ways to do that. In this case, I used chocolate ribbons. I have a whole video on that to just stuck them in, formed them, and stuck them in the top along with some crystallized flowers from my favorite sugar flower company called crystallizedflower.com. But here I think I'm going to use royal icing elements. I've got some butterflies that I decorated in advance, and I think I'm going to stick a few on the sides of the box. I've also got flowers that I decorated in advance and stuck on little sticks that tuck down nicely into the corners. So we're going to start with those. I don't think I need a lot, simply because the boxes are so decorated already. But maybe just a few. And they've got long enough sticks that they should just kind of stick in there on their own. And I've got some leaves to go with them. This is the kind of thing I like to mull over just to get the orientations exactly as I want them. Just put a few in the top maybe, and maybe one at the bottom. Now I glued these leaves and such to these sticks with a thick royal icing glue. And I've allowed them to dry for a little while so that I can pick them up and handle them like so. I always make a few extras so I have a little bit of opportunity to do a little trial and error. And to stick these butterflies on, again, just using a thick icing glue. I'm using a relatively light color so that if I want to move it later, it's easier to do. So I'm going to kind of fill in this little void here where I wanted the flower with a little bit of a butterfly effect. Maybe I'll just stick one down here at the bottom. That's it. And here I'm going to glue it. I think I'm going to plant it right to the plate, actually, so it's kind of leaning up against the box rather than on it. So a little glue to secure it there. And that's it, a finished wedding cake box. In my next video, I'll be talking about a different type of 3D construction, which is called a sandwiched construction. We'll be applying that to place cards. Till then, live sweetly.